Snow had settled thick over Maple Street, coating the little Midwestern town like powdered sugar on a holiday postcard. Sarah Lockwood stepped out of the convenience store after a shortened shift, holding a thin envelope that felt heavier than it should have. Reduced holiday hours meant a smaller paycheck, and a smaller paycheck meant fewer choices. Her manager had apologized, but apologies didn't pay rent or heating bills. As Sarah walked home, she passed house after house, glowing with string lights and wreaths, and inflatable Santas leaning slightly forward, as if eager to deliver Christmas cheer. Every porch seemed warm and welcoming, but her chest tightened at the reminder that her own house had no lights, no decoration, no tree. Inside, her 2 children were waiting. When she opened the door, Emma and Noah ran to her. Emma, 8 years old and serious beyond her years, held a piece of paper she had worked on all afternoon. "Mom, I finished my letter to Santa. Do you want to hear it?" Sarah sat with them on the worn-out couch, the heater wheezing from the corner of the room. Emma cleared her throat and read, "Dear Santa, I'm not asking for a lot. I would like warm shoes for my brother Noah because his socks get wet and he doesn't tell anyone. I would also like a nice Christmas dinner for my mom because she works really hard. And if it's possible, maybe a small Christmas tree for us to decorate. Love, Emma." Sarah felt her throat close. She hugged both kids tightly, trying to hide the sting in her eyes as they giggled in her arms. 2 days before Christmas, while Sarah taped plastic over the drafty living room window, Emma and Noah played in the yard with no gloves and thin sneakers that soaked through almost immediately. Sarah was bent over the tape roll when a voice came from the sidewalk, called out for little hands. She turned to see an older man standing at the fence, tall and slightly stooped, wearing a gray flat cap. "Name's Tom Thompson," he said with a small nod. "Just moved in down the street." Sarah greeted him politely. He looked at Emma's red fingers and Noah's wet socks, something in his expression shifting, but he didn't comment. Instead, he wished her a good afternoon and walked away. 5 minutes later, he came back with a paper bag. "My wife used to knit," he said quietly. "I kept a few pieces, but these, I think your kids could use them more than I can." Inside were 2 pairs of thick wool mittens and matching scarves, navy blue and soft as clouds. Sarah tried to refuse, but Emma slipped a mitten on and smiled with relief. Tom shook his head gently, insisting it was no trouble. After that day, he stopped by occasionally, fixing a flickering bulb or tightening a loose hinge without making a big deal out of it. He never stayed long, but Sarah sensed a sadness underneath his kindness, the kind that comes from losing someone you loved very deeply. Christmas Eve arrived with a quiet snowfall. Sarah managed to make tomato soup and grilled cheese for dinner simple, but all she had left in the pantry. The kids ate cheerfully, then drew pictures of Christmas trees on scrap paper and taped them to the wall. They were trying so hard to pretend the night was festive. When Sarah was cleaning up the dishes, a knock came at the door. She wasn't expecting anyone. When she opened it, she froze. Tom Thompson stood on the porch, but he wasn't alone. Behind him were a dozen neighbors, folks from up and down the street, parents from Emma's school, the mailman, even her manager Denise, holding a foil-covered casserole. Everyone was bundled in bright scarves and winter coats, their breath rising in little clouds, and they were all carrying something. Someone held a real Christmas tree, already lit with warm white lights. Another person carried bags of groceries, potatoes, vegetables, a frozen turkey, a pumpkin pie. A teenager held 2 wrapped presents in shiny red paper. A woman carried a stack of neatly folded winter clothes. "Merry Christmas Eve, Sarah," Tom said gently. "We thought your home could use a bit of holiday spirit." They stepped inside, filling the little living room with warmth and laughter and the smell of pine. The children gasped when the lit tree was placed in the corner. Noah danced around it, yelling, "We have a real tree, a real one." Emma covered her mouth, eyes shining. Sarah felt tears spill down her cheeks. "I don't understand," she said, her voice cracking. "Why are you all doing this?" Tom steadied himself on a chair before speaking. "Many years ago," he said, "when my wife and I were young and broke, we couldn't afford Christmas. We had a baby boy and nothing to give him. Then one night, our neighbors knocked on the door with a tree, food, and gifts. They didn't ask for anything. They just wanted to help." He looked around the room, eyes glistening. "My wife and I promised that someday we'd do the same for someone else. When I saw Emma and Noah out there in the cold, I knew it was time to keep that promise." A woman stepped forward and placed an envelope on the small table. "A little something to help with bills or whatever you need," she said softly. Everyone pitched in. For the next hour, the house buzzed with activity. Ornaments were hung, food was arranged, someone set the pie to warm in the oven. People shared cookies and stories and hugs. When the last neighbor left and the door closed behind them, the house felt different, warmer, fuller, somehow alive. The Christmas tree glowed gently, casting soft light across the kids' faces as they sat beneath it, still in awe. Sarah opened the envelope. Inside was enough cash to cover the overdue heating bill and even put a little aside for groceries after the holiday. She pressed a hand to her mouth, overcome, then looked out the window at the falling snow. "Thank you," she whispered into the quiet room, unsure if the words were meant for Tom, for the neighbors, for fate, or for the wife he still loved. On Christmas morning, the house erupted with laughter as Emma and Noah opened their gifts. Emma held her new shoes against her chest like a treasure. Noah tore around the room with a toy truck, its wheels squeaking on the old hardwood floor. A few days later, as life settled back to normal, Sarah walked to the community center and signed up as a volunteer for the winter coat and toy drive. When she came home, Emma asked if they could help other families next Christmas, like Santa's helpers, she said. Sarah smiled, warmed by the thought. "Yes," she said, "that's exactly what we're going to do." And from that year on, whenever snow began to fall on Maple Street and lights blinked across the houses, Sarah remembered the night strangers chose not to stay strangers, and how kindness, quiet, ordinary, human kindness had made that Christmas one her family would never forget.